It's been quite a week, and right now we're turning to a very important conversation: accountability. Congress now making a legislative move to deal with parts of what led to the insurrection. The House actually passing a bill to overhaul an old law that Trump was basically trying to exploit or misrepresent to help steal the outcome of the election. About 9 Republicans voted for it. None of them, though, are coming back to Congress, a sign of how even straightforward reforms like this to basically make sure the outcomes of elections are honored is controversial on the right and in the Republican Party. The January 6th committee, meanwhile, gearing up for a final hearing this Wednesday. Big deal all around. And as we think about accountability and think broadly, not just in Beltway terms, I'm excited to tell you that we have one of the journalists in the music, cultural, and political space, Ebro Darden, who rose to acclaim on Hot 97. Look at it right here. He's also host of the Ebro Show on Apple Music, where he's also an Apple executive. And I say with all seriousness, because I've had these convos with you, you know about a lot of things, but you've been talking about accountability, and I wanted to bring you to this table to have that conversation. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you, man.
Great soiree the other night.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I also want to just make sure before we go too far, the term journalist, let's just make sure that, you know, it's very loose when it comes to me.
I appreciate that, but I said
lawyer,
it.
Journalist.
I said it literally, by which I mean you report on and take facts seriously.
And I sometimes journal. I jot things down.
Yeah, so I'm not using it loosely, but I understand. So it's like if you call someone a poet and they go, I don't know if I'm a poet, right?
Like, I didn't go to school for this.
Neither did I. I'm not even
sure we should be here.
Should we go? Should we leave? With live TV, I guess we should say.
I don't know.
I meant what I said about you, and I want to put up on the screen a lot of the people who did go into the Capitol that day, who were initially treated very deferentially by police. Indeed, they weren't arrested on sight.
That's right.
And we've had that conversation. Now, about 900 have been charged.
I think people, I want people to pay attention to this number. There's a lot of people who don't even see this information.
Okay.
Because people in my world are waiting for more people to go to jail.
So let me go to number 2 for your analysis here. January 6th people who talked about the 6th, who went to the rally on the 6th, some spoke at the rally.
Yeah.
Put up on the screen, we got Donald Trump,
that's right,
Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Coup lawyer, Mr. Mark Meadows, caught all up in the receipts and the texts. Man. When you look at these individuals, Ebro, do you think there will be real accountability if they are not prosecuted?
Based on appearance? Based on bank accounts?
Based on facts.
How are we basing this
based on?
Based on facts.
Well, if the pawn is getting in trouble,
That's right.
do you think these are the kings?
There's no precedent for it. So I think they may skirt the law. And I think that that's going to be a real fracture in, I guess, politics and our society and the judicial system at that level. Nobody believes those people are actually going to jail because of their money, because they can stretch things out, because they can stretch things out to the point where the public forgets. And maybe, you know, a lot of politicians running for office on this issue, if those politicians lose and this issue isn't strong enough with their constituency, are these people actually going to be held accountable? If those people that are on the committee...
Because I'll tell you this, there's evidence that people like Eastman and Meadows knew more in advance and did more to put in elector fraud than a lot of the people who marched in.
I only saw on Twitter that January 6th was a thing, was on the air here in New York City, talking about January 6th before it happened, and even was on the air, people predicting that it would be what it was. And I went on to say, I want to see what happens. Because I want to see what the American institution is going to do about it. And that's what's happening right now. What's happening right now, whether you like Trump, you don't like Trump, and all the cronies around him, is they have challenged the system to the point, what are you going to do about it?
Yes. You say it clearly. I hope people are listening, because that is how Biden calls it semi-fascism. You can call it authoritarian. That's what those systems do. It's not a bug. It's a feature to say, look at what you can get away with and build a movement around that. I like to use evidence, so I have Exhibit A for you.
Let's go.
Not Exhibit C.
Aren't you a lawyer?
Not Exhibit C.
J Electronica.
Shout out to J Electronica. Yeah. Exhibit A.
Yes.
Here's someone who was actually breaching the Capitol, then speaking out in public on the anniversary. Take a look.
People keep comparing it to the worst thing since whatever, blah, blah, blah. There was really no threat to their life like everybody's trying to say. Everybody's just in there walking around hooting and hollering. You know, nobody had weapons. Nobody was attacking people.
Do you apologize for anything you did that day?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. And what are you going to do about it? That's what we are. That's where things are. And I hate to be this guy, but I got to be this guy, and this is just who I am. And I'm this way on Ebro in the Morning on Hot 97 in New York and also on Apple Music.
And right now you're on live national news, so no one can stop you.
What are you going to do about it? And even further than that, if you don't do anything about it, it's going to keep happening. And most people walking around or watching this today, they assume nothing's going to happen. So what does that actually say about the faith in the system? Which is why people even joked around and voted for Donald Trump, because there's people who thought it was funny. They just wanted to see what would happen. Screw those people up there on Capitol Hill. They don't care about us. We're going to vote for the reality show host. Let's see what happens. What do I got to lose? And even the people who showed up ran and smeared human feces on the walls in the Capitol. Why not?
So
why not?
Do you think people understand writ large, not people who follow politics every day, because I always try to look as wide as possible, that this can get a lot worse for us here in this country?
I don't think they understand because they haven't seen it. And I don't even know if they can digest what you're saying. I don't think people's brains function in that way.
That's an interesting way to put it. Why? Why can't they?
There's no precedent. American exceptionalism. We're the best. We're the greatest. Oh, that won't happen here. I mean, even right now, people who saw January 6th will fix their lips and say, this is not who we are. What are you talking about? We just saw it on television. It's clearly who we are. What are you saying? Donald Trump wins presidency. This is not who we are. Did you go to the rallies? Did you see what was happening on TV? It's clearly a part of who we are. Police kill black men in the streets. This is not who we are. It's been who we are since inception, since day one. Why do we keep acting like we're not this? Because we're programmed to think that we're better than we actually are. And we're going to have to come to terms with that if we're actually going to improve. And until we do, there won't be improvement. There's people who don't want to convict Donald Trump or any of his cronies because of the way it looks to the world. You know, we're not a banana republic. We don't, jail our former politicians. We don't do that here. Well, we might want to start. We might want to start and fast. Otherwise, we'll just have more of this, and there'll be more people saying inflammatory things and inciting violence, and that'll become the norm. As we prepare for the midterms, isn't there talk and fear of violence around elections?
Well, not only that, yes, and you have people like Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham saying, if you do something to enforce the law, there might be riots. And we did a report on this program about how when they talked about riots after alleged looting, after police brutality incidents, they said that means you have to double down, show those people they're not in charge. Now, all of a sudden, the very phantom idea of right-wing riots is supposed to make the DOJ stand down. Right,
but in this nation, when people talk about violence around elections, my ancestors, who are black and indigenous and Jewish, are accustomed to violence around voting because that's what happened to black folks in this nation when they used to try to vote. So there has been violence around elections in this nation, but it just hasn't been something that America wanted to hold itself accountable for. Even in this nation right now, people are banning books, not wanting to read history, not wanting to teach the facts. They want to use alternative facts. All of these things are continuing to happen. You cover it on your show. I talk about it on the air. People write articles about it, but on Capitol Hill, politicians are afraid to talk about it. They're worried they're going to lose their jobs. They're worried they're not going to get elected. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? You want the job, you want the power, you want the seat, you want the upward mobility in your political career. But at some point, people are going to have to get to being honest if we're going to fix this.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, regular folks don't think it's going to get fixed.
Right. Ebro Darden?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you and the clarity of your voice.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Hey, man, it's been a pleasure.